Let's paint a leaf together. This is suitable for beginners, so grab your paints, grab your pencils, and let's get started. Okay, I've just got a sheet of paper here. This is a textured watercolour paper and it's ideal for this kind of painting. I'm just going to tape my paper to my board to stop it from moving around. So you want to attach your paper to your board. And like I said in the intro, this will be suitable for everybody. We're going to be working wet in wet, which means that we're going to be dropping the paint into that beautiful watercolour paper. So grab your pencil. It's a really simple shape, so I'm not going to be providing you with a free outline today. So all you're going to do is start with the central vein and we're going to work right the way up to the top. Really simple line. And then we're just going to have a kind of really easy shape. Just a gentle outline. Doesn't have to be perfect, and then you're just going to bring that down to there and continue with the stem. There are some little serrations, so you can put those in just to give it a little bit of interest. This will be a really good practice piece for your wet and wet painting and a simple piece to paint. We've got the central vein coming up. Don't worry too much about the patterns on there. We're just going to be working through that as we go along. I've got my favourite paints here. We're going to be starting off by mixing the middle colour, which is that gorgeous kind of goldy colour that we see here. I've just got some cloth on the side here. So we're just going to add a little bit of water to the palette. 2 puddles. So we're going to start off by mixing a nice golden colour. So we'll have that ready to drop in. And also going to mix a nice kind of red. Nice bright red colour. If you're new to watercolour painting, it's all about working from light to dark and adding layers of paint to get the best result that you're looking for. So to start with, we're just going to get some plain water and we're just going to put the water all over the leaf. The paint is going to land where you put the water and it's going to spread it out onto the paper. So you need to be a little bit careful about where you're applying your water. Because I'm using and I've gone outside the pencil line there, so just be careful with that. Because I'm using a nice quality watercolour paper, I can be quite heavy-handed with my application of the water because it's going to seep into that paper. If you're using a cellulose paper, you need to use maybe a little less and just be a little bit more careful with your application because it does tend to sit on the surface a little more. There's nothing wrong with that paper, by the way. It's just the way that they behave. It is slightly different. So you're just going to push that into the pencil line gently. Because I've gone outside the pencil line here, it may well bleed into that, but we'll see. I'm giving that a second or two to seep into the paper, and then we're just going to grab maybe a little bit more of that golden colour, and we're going to call this the base. We've got this beautiful shade here, so I'm just going to drop this down the middle. Okay, maybe a little bit more. And just let it do its thing. Okay, it's just going to spread out a little bit. Let me zoom in a little for you. So you can see that that's just blurring into that paper. I'm cleaning my brush. And then we're picking up the reddish tone that I've got here. This is Cranberry. And then with this colour, we're just going right up to the edge. And again, I'm pressing and releasing the brush. And it's just going into the areas where we've added that water. Okay, remember this is just our base layer. This is going to guide us where we're going to add the colours later on. And the paper is going to do the hard work for you. I'm using a number 4 brush for this. Let me just move that out of the way. Nice and easy. Just pushing it into the outside edge just to tidy that up. And it's just going to blur. And you keep dropping it in. The paints I'm using are from Deep Deep Light. They're my favourite watercolour paints. I use them all the time. I really like them. Use your colours, use your favourite colours. You could use any kind of golden yellow colour and any red that you've got. But I do really enjoy these paints. I have got a discount code which I'll pop in the description box. Deep Deep Ray, and I'll give you 10%. If you want to buy them, you haven't got to. You can use any paints that you want to. I'm just going to give that a second or two to seep into the paper. I'm adding some water to this colour here. This colour is called Soul of the Oak. If you don't have this colour, you could substitute it with something like I don't know, any brown tone would do, okay? The reason I'm using this is because it's a granulating colour, and if you're not familiar with granulating paints and you haven't tried them, please give them a go, because they are absolutely wonderful for blurring out and separating out onto the watercolour paper, and they will give you the most incredible results. Let me just show you the little swatch I've got of it here. I'm going to pop that on there, and this is Soul of the Oak. And you can see it's got teal, it's got a kind of red colour, like a burgundy tone, it's got greens, it's got browns. So slightly out of focus there while I drop that in. All I've done is I've used that paint to just drop in that pigment here and there. So I'm just going to give that a little mix and just drop it in. All I've done is I've mixed that colour up and I've dropped it in. Sorry, I had a little bit of a glitch there, but I'm just dropping it in by pressing and releasing my brush. Okay, so my name is Ray Campbell. I think it's time to introduce myself. My name is Ray Campbell, and every week here on YouTube I create tutorials for you. Just mixing this in with this. So this is Cranbury and a colour called Acorn Rust. Every week here on YouTube I provide you with free tutorials, and so if this is something that appeals to you, then we'd love to see you here as a regular. Perhaps you consider subscribing to my channel. We'd love to see you here as one of our regular viewers. So if botanical painting or free painting tutorials is something that appeals to you, we'd love to have you here as a subscriber. So again, I'm using that red colour and just dropping it in while it's still wet, and it's just going to blur into those colours. Now it might look a little bit messy. Watercolour often has what is known as the ugly stage, so you just have to trust the process and just go with it, okay? The paper is still damp, because this paper does hold the water really, really well. So we're just going to drop that in and just let it do its thing. I'm going to add another colour. This is a nice burgundy tone, and this will darken our red. Again, whilst it's drying, we can just drop that in. Just using my number 4 brush. So watercolour, if you're new to watercolour painting, it's all about building up your layers one by one. Normally I would let this dry before doing this, but because we're working wet and wet for this first wash, I just wanted to show you how it's meant to look, how untidy it's meant to look at this point. So we're just mapping in the colours, and we're using our little leaf here as a guide. These were found on my garden lawn fairly recently, so I just thought they would be lovely to paint. We now need to let this dry before we can start to think about adding our other layers, because if we start to build them up now, they're all going to merge together. So the key to watercolour painting is letting this layer dry completely. It's going to take about half an hour or so in the UK at the moment with the climate that we have. So I'm going to go and have a cup of tea, and I'll be right back. The leaf is pretty much dry, so we can start to think about building up the colours and the layers that we see. I'm taking a little bit of this golden colour here. This is actually Acorn Rust. You could use quinacridone gold or anything like that, okay? What we're going to do now is just enhance the little golden areas that we've got just here and there. Doesn't need too much because we've got that kind of colour is underneath and we don't really see it that prominently. So I'm just adding a little bit of a glaze here just to take it over and enhance it a little bit. I'm still using my number 4 brush. Just get a nice little mixture there. I'm running out of space on my palette there really, but I need to just add this in. So we're just going over the colours that we've placed in the initial wash, okay? And just brightening them up here and there. There's a lot of this kind of colour in this area, so we're just going to use that as our guide. Just a tiny bit more along here. And maybe here and there. Like that. Okay, so that's our Acorn Rust. I'm going to go back to Soul of the Oak. Remember, you could use any green colour or any browny green colour that you have. If you are using these colours from Deep Deep Light, then you must add a lot of water to get them activated to really get the benefit of those granulating colours, okay? So we're just going to give that a second or two to sink into the paper, and then I'm picking up my Soul of the Oak and we're going to do the same thing again. Only this time we're just going to be a little bit more controlled about our dropping in. We're just drawing this pattern that we sort of roughly see on the leaf. It is going to bleed into some of that colour because we still want that nice kind of blurry effect. Just let it do its thing. So I'm just getting the brush and I'm patting and releasing as I'm applying. So pat and release to just add that colour, okay? And then you can take it into some of the drier paint and it's not going to blur in those areas. Again, we're just going to take it out. Just using the tip of my brush to create these little shapes. Not too perfect. Just got to get them in place. And just here and there. We've got some sort of rusty areas on the leaf. If you want to put those in, you can do. Or you can just leave them be. We have got a hard edge there, so I'm just going to clean my brush, and with that damp brush we can just soften that edge in. Okay, like so. Just going to give this a wipe down, and then we're going to take a little look at the outside edge of the leaf. So I've got a nice burgundy colour, which is this here. This is actually called Woodcow Wheat. You could use your favourite burgundy tone. Cerulean violet would be a good colour. Or you could mix red and purple together. Cranberry is the red I've chosen because I really like this colour. If you really enjoy painting botanicals, we have got a Patreon where you can join for free, and there are hundreds, I think, of free outlines over there. If you want to download them, you can go to our free membership level, click on the link that says YouTube outlines, and many of them are free, along with the link to the YouTube video, so you can learn to paint for free, and you don't even have to be able to draw or like the drawing element. If you find that's something that you struggle with, you can just grab it for free and join in with us there. We'd love to see you. We also have a paid Patreon where we focus on botanical paintings with watercolour, and you won't find any of our Patreon tutorials here on YouTube. They are written exclusively for my patrons. So you can join as a free member for those outlines, and you can join as a paid member if you want to get a more detailed tutorial. We even have mentorship on there. So let's just take a little look to see what you get. If you enjoy my watercolour tutorials here on YouTube, then you're going to love what's waiting for you over on my Patreon. By joining, you'll unlock exclusive content that you won't find anywhere else, packed with tips, techniques and inspiration to help you become a more confident artist. I've created 3 membership tiers so that you can choose the one that fits you best, our Clematis being the most popular, offering all my monthly watercolour tutorials, no matter what level you're at. But if you're serious about improving your painting, our Rose tier is perfect for you because this mentorship level gives you one-on-one video calls with me where we can chat about your progress and troubleshoot any challenges to explore new ways to elevate your art. Finding content on Patreon is super easy now. The Collections tab keeps everything organised by theme or subject, and the handy search bar makes it easy to find exactly what you're looking for. So if you're ready to unlock your creative potential, build your skills and connect with a supportive community, join me on Patreon today. You can join and leave Patreon at any time. We'd love to see you there. So just go and check it out. And of course, if you want to grab those free outlines that are in that little Collections tab, you can do that by clicking on the YouTube outlines, and like I said, there's quite a lot over there, all free. There are some paid ones as well, but you might as well take advantage of those free outlines, right? So Cranberry is going on now just over those lines that we created at the start, and I'm just placing this colour where I feel I need to just add a little bit of that red tone. It kind of goes around here and there. This is just meant to be a lovely, easy, relaxed tutorial. Nothing too accurate. We're not about accuracy for this one. We're just about having fun, experimenting with wet and wet, and seeing where that takes us. Okay, we're just going down that middle vein, working around the shapes that we've dropped in. This is just Cranberry on its own. And just going over those little spikes. working around that darker colour that we applied with Soul of the Oak. And again, just taking this colour into that colour there. If you wanted to add a little bit more of that detailed colour, you can. Just cleaning my brush and just pushing that colour through down here. Now we have got a bit more of that red colour on the side. We're just going to take this up into these colours. It goes from red to that darker colour, doesn't it? I'll just do that. Work around. And then there's a lot of red down here, so we're just going to take that in. And then it kind of comes down into that stem like that. Okay, and then what's left on the brush, just going to wiggle that. Taking some of the maroony colour just for a little bit of contrast. And just dropping it in here and there. If you want to enhance the red. Using a maroon or dark purple colour is a great way of making your reds a little bit darker without overworking. So you can add that here and there. And I'm just going to get a little bit more of that red tone just to take it over this bit. And using my brush, lots of water. So you can see now it's got that lovely mixed colours, looking very autumnal or fall-like. Taking some of the Acorn Rust, and I'm just going to be glazing over here and there to give that lovely golden look. Okay. And more Soul of the Oak. Cleaning my brush. Soul of the Oak, if you haven't used it before, if you're not familiar with this colour, it's one of the super granulations that Deep Light do, and it starts off by being one colour and then it kind of changes into another. It's really, really magical, and if you buy it the first time you use it, you might think, oh, maybe I've got the wrong tone, but it does change as you work with it. It's quite unusual to see that happening, and when I first had the colour I thought, oh gosh, I've bought, or they've sent me the wrong colour, but it isn't. It changes before your eyes. It's very, very magical and very, very special. I'm just adding a little bit more Soul of the Oak to these colours just to enhance them a little bit. It's still wet and wet at this point over here because I've just dropped in that Acorn Rust. That's okay. I just want this effect to be nice and loose and let it do the work for me like this, okay? So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, maybe you would like to do that if you like free tutorials and learning to paint as you paint. We'd love to see you here as a regular viewer. Just going to take a tiny bit of Soul of the Oak onto the tip there. Also, if you have got these colours and you'd like to join in with me and you've got a particular brand of paint that you're having trouble matching the colours to, do drop me a message in the comment section and I will absolutely do my best to help you. I've got a plethora of colour charts and I can look up the colour and see if I can find a similar one that you've got based on your own brand. So if you are struggling, let me know in the comments. That's what I'm here for. Or of course you can treat yourself to these delightful paints, maybe a little Christmas present to yourself. Deep Light paints are absolutely incredible. So I'm just using this time just to sharpen up the outside edge a little bit there. And then I'm going to wipe down my palette and we're going to put the little shadow in because I think it looks really cute with that on. So yes, if you are struggling with your colour matching, then let me know in the comments. Tell me what brand you've got and I'll see if I can help you out with a similar colour, okay? Because I want you to join in with this tutorial no matter what brand of paints that you prefer. Okay, so I'm going to take water where I think that line is going to go. So we're just going to take a little bit of water to that kind of shadow area. And it kind of comes down like that. That is actually bled into it because it's still wet. I'm going to use a colour called Asphalt. You could use a brown, you could use a grey. I just thought this kind of fitted nicely, and I didn't have a grey in the set that I was using. Also, I'll pin a video on the top of your screen here to help you with colour matching. We have a system that is fairly easy to follow, and I call it foolproof, but hey, look, I'll pin it on the screen so you can check it out, and it might help you with your colour matching, because we don't use colour wheels and colour theory and all that kind of stuff. So we're just dropping in the asphalt here, and it's going to go where that water has been applied, and we can tidy it up in a bit. Okay, it's looking a little messy at the moment, but that's okay. Drop it in right up to that leaf, and then I'm just going to let that settle in. Cleaning my brush, and then with that damp brush I'm just softening that edge just to tidy it up a little bit, and then we're just going to let it dry, and then we can come together to do the final tweaks to bring it all together. Just picking up a bit more of that colour and just dropping it in where these two meet. I don't think Asphalt was the best choice for this colour, if I'm honest, but it's the nearest that I had when I was picking out my colour choices, but that's okay. So don't be scared to ask if you're, like I said, struggling with your colour matching, because we want everybody to join in with us and learn to paint as you paint. Just going to give that a wipe. Going to let this dry, and then we can come in and do the final details. Just going to blend that in. It's got a little bit of pink on there, so making sure that that's nice and clean. And then we can just bring it all together and call this finished. But we're just going to let that dry a moment, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so to finish up, I'm just going to add a tiny bit more of asphalt. I'm adding less water to this because I want it to be a slightly thicker mix. And I'm going to size down my brush size because I want this to be a really nice fine line. So I'm going to my number 2 size brush. Okay, just give that a little mix around. And then I'm just going to go around the outside edge here, just to darken up that value a little bit where these two meet. Okay, just a tiny bit to sharpen that line up. And where we've naturally got that darker shadow, I'm just going to add that in like that, and then clean my brush and then just blend that in with that damp brush to the existing wash. We want to soften that line a little bit. We want to make it look as though it's got that shadow underneath without being too fussy. We don't want it to be, you know, like I said, this is just a nice gentle, easy peasy, very enjoyable, hopefully, very enjoyable, easy to do tutorial. So I'm just using what's left on my brush really just to add a little line. Let me just move this in so you can see what I'm doing. So we're just mixing some of that darker colour, and you see at there's a kind of central line coming down, so we're just going to put that in. Actually, that's a little bit askew, isn't it? But it doesn't matter. And just start to pull these lines up. And if you want to just add a little bit more colour to that blurry line, you can do that. And sharpen up 1 or 2 pieces. Just like that. And you can soften them through as well. And that's it. I'm going to call this piece finished. Just got this kind of shadow underneath here. The idea of the shadow is to make it look as if it's not a flat piece, and it's got a little bit of dimension. If you don't want to do the shadow, you don't have to. But that's it. Hopefully that looks like it's got some dimension, and this is a little bit darker, but you know what, it doesn't matter. I really hope that you've enjoyed painting along with me today. If you have enjoyed this tutorial, perhaps you consider hitting the like button underneath. All the materials that I've used today I'm going to link in the description box. I'll even put a free playlist right at the end of this video. I think we have a painting leaves video, so I'll pop that on the end in case you've really enjoyed this one and you want to join in and paint some more leaves with us. Remember to join Patreon. We have got a ton of free outlines over there, and the links to this tutorial here on YouTube. It's completely free to join. And of course, if you want to take advantage of the membership levels that we have over there and even have some mentorship with me, so if you want to be part of our community, we'd love to see you there too. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ray Campbell. This is my studio, and let's just take a moment to appreciate the finished painting.